final parsha of Sefer Bereshis, Parshas VaYechi. There's something which I've always found very unusual about Parshas VaYechi. And that is, it says, VaYechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim. Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim. When Yaakov Avinu went down there, those 17 years that he lived in Mitzrayim, from age 130 until age 147 when he passed away, those were very excellent years for Yaakov Avinu. He lived in peace. His family was there together. All of the many, many sufferings that he had over the course of his life, that was all past. Nothing else happened there of a tragic nature, and he had many tragedies in his life. So those 17 years, which equal Tov, 17 is Tov, Tesvav Vez, were very fine, exceptional years for Yaakov Avinu. I would just like to mention as an addendum, so that's 17 years. Tonight is the 17th of Teves. So we got a 17, Tov, and the name of this month is Teves, which I believe is related to Tov, Tes, Vez, Saf. I like to call it tonight, it's Tov Teves. I like to call it Tov Tovos. It's good within, it's a triple good, Tov Tovos is tonight, Tov Teves. And Yaakov Avinu lived those 17 years, wonderful years of his life. So I'll tell you what I find so unusual. Of all places, where does he live these 17 tranquil years of life? In Mitzrayim, in Egypt. It's so strange. He's been in Eretz Yisrael his whole life, Eretz Canaan. He's had to leave to Lavan, 20 years, comes back. We know that. He was outside of Eretz Yisrael for a while, came back, but primarily lived in the land of Israel. And as we said before, had a lot of suffering in his life. And in the last 17 years in Mitzrayim, he's in a very nice place in life. So unusual. I would think that the lesson is that the 17 years he was in the land of Israel, those were the best years. That's what I wanted to say. That's how the story should read, you know. They lived happily ever after in Mitzrayim. What? So this is my thought. I think about this almost every year because I find it such a striking thing. When Yaakov Avinu goes down to Mitzrayim, that really is one of the major steps in our people going down to Mitzrayim. It's a whole long process of Yosef being sold and ending up in Mitzrayim, and the hunger, and then he becomes in charge, and then eventually Yaakov and the family come down. But this really is a major step going down to Mitzrayim. Very serious thing. I think what Hashem does here is he lets the Jewish people know, I'm with you. I'm with you. And he even said that to Yaakov Avinu in last week's Parsha. You're going down to Mitzrayim, don't worry, I'm going down with you. And I will also come up out of Mitzrayim with you as well. So those first 17 years, they are injected with a certain sense of the Jewish people being in a good place. So we can kind of carry that with us all the way through those years of very deep suffering and slavery. But we started off there with 17 good years, Tov, good years. And perhaps that kind of launched us in our experience there. We didn't come down in suffering. We came down really in a reunion of Yaakov and Yosef, a very incredible moment in Jewish history. So God gives us, you might say, that pillow, that was years of sunlight that we were able to have to carry us through Mitzrayim. Maybe that's the idea. As a matter of fact, the Chachamim tell us that really Yaakov Avinu could have come down to Mitzrayim in chains, because it's the beginning of the exile of the Jewish people. But instead, he came down in glory. Yosef sent for him. Everybody respected them. He came down in a state of glory, not in chains. So we begin this exile with that cocoon of glory, the glory of the Jewish people, just to firmly plan who we are, the 12 tribes, the Yud Beit Shvatim, the sons of Yaakov Avinu, and that glory and pride. Yeah, from there we descend, but we started with that glory, and we rise back up to that on our way out of Mitzrayim as well. Perhaps that's one of the ways to look at that unusual Mitzius, reality of Yaakov Avinu's 17 years of goodness in Egypt. Okay, we'll begin with L'Chadodi, Niggin tonight. Tonight I'm just going to sing it. Everybody's welcome to sing at home while you're muted, and enjoy yourself. L'Chadodi Graska B'nei Shabbos Nekabela L'Chadodi Graska B'nei Shabbos Nekabela Aishamar v'zachar b'dibur echad Ishmiyanu el hameyuchadaya Didiram b'bam Didiram b'bam Hashem echad Shemaya echad Hashem U'l'siferes v'l'tzilah L'Chadodi Igaras Kalai P'nei Shabbos Nekabela Dididiram 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 Bye 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 Dididiram Dididiram Bye Bye Oy V'Shalom Ateres Pala Gaberina Ubetzalaya Didiram Bye Bye Dididiram Bye Bye Tochemune Am Segula Boichala 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 Shabbos Malkeso Chadodi Ligaras Kalala P'nei Shabbos Nekabela Dididiram B'bam Dididiram B'bam Dibibibam B'da Didiram B'dam B'da Didiram B'dam Didiram 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 B'bam Didiram Didiram Bam Didiram Didiram Bam Didiram Didiram Going into Shabbos, on our way. Thank you, Rabbi. I didn't ask her to do that. That really was volunteer. I saw a really interesting thing this week in the Sefer called the Ma'or V'Shemesh. The Ma'or V'Shemesh was Rav Klonimus Kalman Epstein, who lived in Krakow in the end of the 1700s, early on in Hasidus. He was the Talmud of the Rabbi Rav Elimelech of Lezhensk. also to Kedushas Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, and one of the earlier great Hasidic rabbis, and his very famous work is called Ma'or V'Shemesh. So he writes the following at the end of this week's parsha, VaYechi. Every time we finish a whole sefer in the Torah, we say Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek. Be strong, and we shall be strengthened. Now, the way he has it, and maybe this was the custom, he said that we say Chazak 3 times. So maybe they said Chazak, 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 perhaps. We say the Nis Chazek the 3rd time. And he points out that the gematria of Chazak, Ches, Zayin, Kuf, is 115. Ches is 8, Zayin is 7, that makes 15, and Kuf is 100. So 115. You say it 3 times. Multiply 3 times 115, what do you got? 345. Which gematria is 345? Moshe. Mem, Shin, He is Moshe. Shin 300, Mem, He 45. So therefore, at the end of each sefer, we're making a remez, a hint, an allusion to Moshe Rabbeinu by saying Chazak, Chazak, the Nis Chazek. That's a remez to Moshe himself because of that gematria. So why would we be doing that? I think perhaps one of the ideas, I actually mentioned 2 ideas, is that we always have to remember that Moshe Rabbeinu was a prophet unlike any prophet. His category of nevuah, of prophecy, was completely different than all other prophets. As a matter of fact, in Yiddishkeit and Judaism, we have 2 categories of prophecy. We have all prophets, that's category number 1. Everybody, Yeshayahu, Yirmiyahu, Esther, Hamalka, and we have Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Everybody who was a Navi is in that category. And the other category is Moshe Rabbeinu. He's the whole category unto himself. It's a completely different level of nevuah. He speaks to God while he's awake. He doesn't have to go into a sleep-like prophetic state. He's wide, completely awake. He needs no advanced preparation for prophecy. Everybody else did. He didn't because he was always prepared. He could say to the people, and it happened 4 times in the Torah, that a question for him that he couldn't answer, he said, I'll be back. I'm just going to go ask Hashem, and I'll come back with your answer. Right? We can't do that. Most people can't do that. Moshe Rabbeinu could do that. His prophecy was completely level. Plus, there was complete clarity in Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah. It's called Aspaklaria Ha'me'ira. Every prophet sees their prophecy through many lenses, spiritual lenses. It's clear, and they know what they're seeing, but there are many veils before they can see it because prophecy is so high and so vast and so great. Even a Navi can't handle it in its pure form. It has to be tempered through these lenses, these prophetic lenses. That's called an aspaklaria. Moshe Rabbeinu had only one lens, just one veil on his prophecy. That's all that was necessary, and it was a completely crystal clear lens. So perhaps at the end of each sefer, when we say Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek, as we said, it's a remez to the gematria of Moshe Rabbeinu, that we're remembering this great person who went up to Shemayim for 40 days and 40 nights and didn't eat and didn't sleep and didn't drink. We always have to remember that time, that era with Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's where our Torah comes from, Nevuas Moshe. That's spectacular, unequaled Nevuah in all of history. So each time we finish a sefer in the Torah, we remember Moshe Rabbeinu. Another thought that I had in mind was that it's an interesting thing, but they say every generation, has leaders, and the leaders have a little bit of Moshe Rabbeinu in them. All the Jewish leaders have a little bit of Moshe Rabbeinu. So sometimes we think that Moshe Rabbeinu is gone, he's not here anymore for a long, long time. And of course, that's true. But in a certain way, he's here because all Jewish leaders contain a little bit of that spark of Moshe Rabbeinu. And in a second way, all of the Jewish people in total contain some of Moshe Rabbeinu, because they say in Hasidic Sforim that Moshe Rabbeinu's da'as, his expansive knowledge, was equal to the knowledge of the entirety of the Jewish people. So the entire knowledge of all the Jewish people is contained in one person, that's Moshe Rabbeinu. All of us somehow contribute to that, and he contributes to what we have as well. So each time we conclude that Sefer, we say Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek, remembering Moshe Rabbeinu. Why do we have to say the words Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek? Be strong, and we will be strengthened. Why are those the words which are Mesor? Why not be happy, and let's be happy, or something like that? Why those three words? My thought on this is that we see that times of transition are times when people need strength. Transition is a time in people's life when there's certain vulnerabilities. We're leaving behind something, we're going towards something else. It's kind of a precarious state of being, the transition state. Every time we finish a full sefer in the Torah, we transition. We're transitioning into the next book, which is a whole new universe. Each sefer has its own theme. So Bereshis concludes, and it's very different than Sefer Shemos. Our people are born through our avos and our imahos, our patriarchs and matriarchs in Bereshis. The world is created in Bereshis, and then we end up in Mitzrayim. Now, Sefer Shemos is all about slavery, then the end of slavery, splitting of the Red Sea, the Makos, Yetzias Mitzrayim, the Mishkan. Very different world than Sefer Bereshis. So when we make this transition from Bereshis to Shemos, we need strength. We need strength to make that transition, that Torah transition, in a proper way. So if we conclude, Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek. And it's also a reminder to us to ask Hashem for strength when we go through the transition periods of our own lives. May they all be productive and strong for each and every one of us. B'ezras Hashem. Okay, now we'll sing another Shabbos song. And this will be a song from davening, Friday night davening, the Shamaru. I'm going to sing it according to the nigun of Rabbi Mati Twersky. The nigun was made to different words, but in shul we often sing it to these words. Let me describe it here. You'll recognize the tune because we sing it a lot in shul in different places. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael es ha-Shabbos tiriram v'rayram v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v'v' Shabbos es ha-Shabbos l'dayraisa v'risailam hebeni uven b'nei Yisrael Asi Le'aylam ki sheshes yamim Asa Hashem es hashamayim v'yesaret tiriram tiriram v'irayram tiriram tiriram v'irayram tiriram v'irayram tiriram v'irayram tiriram tiriram v'irayram tiriram v'irayram tiriram Tira-ra-ra-ra-ra-ra-ram. Tira-ra-ra-ra-ra-ram. Tiram-ma-ra-ram-ma-ba-ba-ba-bam-ba-ba-ba-bam. Tira-ra-ra-ra-ra-ram. Uvayam hashvi Shabbos Vayinafash. Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, I want to wish everybody a good Shabbos. Please unmute so we can say Erev Tov to everybody. Great to see you. Have a wonderful Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
All good things.
Amen.
Shabbos, everybody.
Menachem and bracha.
Thank you, thank you.
Shabbos.
All the best. Take care, everybody. Get in Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Bye-bye. Great to see you.
Shabbos.
Take care. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Kazak.
Benis Mazek. Thank you.
Shabbos. Everybody stay well.
You too. You too, Shalamis.
Yeah, stay well, everybody.
Thank you. All the best.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.